blasting tanks into flaming wreckage, Ukrainian drones blunt. A year-long Russian offensive. A Russian T-80 tank, transformed into a pillar of flaming wreckage by a Ukrainian drone near Pokrovsk on or before Saturday, wasn't just a tragedy for any Russians in the tank, and a spectacle for the Ukrainian drone operators. It was also a symbol of a dangerous dilemma for the Russians as their wider war on Ukraine grinds into its 37th month. For an entire year since capturing the ruins of Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine, the Russian Center Operational Grouping, one of as many as 6 such groupings along the front line of Russia's wider war on Ukraine, has been crawling toward the fortress city of Pokrovsk, 30 miles to the west. The Center Operational Grouping's forces at least 50,000 troops, many of them belonging to the 41st Combined Arms Army, have finally managed to reach Pokrovsk's outskirts. But it cost them potentially tens of thousands of soldiers and no fewer than 2,200 vehicles, including that T-80 that burst into flames this weekend. According to Gen Oleksandr Syrskyi, the Ukrainian commander-in-chief, around 15,000 Russians were neutralized around Pokrovsk in January alone. Ukraine's own losses in the area have been much lighter since its battered brigades finally retreated from Avdiivka last February. Independent analyst Naalzio has tallied 2,100 destroyed, damaged, and captured Russian vehicles on the Pokrovsk axis, but just 700 destroyed, damaged, and captured Ukrainian vehicles. The staggering losses explain why the Russians may advance near Pokrovsk without actually capturing the city, which anchors a long chain of fortified cities stretching north toward Kharkiv. The enemy's center operational grouping on the Pokrovsk direction has made no advances on any of its fronts for 3 days and was forced to retreat from previously occupied positions in several areas. The 41st Combined Arms Army is unable to continue its offensive to the north and northwest to accomplish its primary objective, to envelop Pokrovsk from the west and cut off the road to Pavlohrad. Stymied, the Russians are pivoting to other objectives. The Russian command in the theater of war is focusing its main attention not on Pokrovsk, but on the adjacent Novopavlivka and Toretsk directions. And the command is willing to rob the 41st Combined Arms Army in the process, reportedly transferring its most powerful formation, the 90th Tank Division, from the Pokrovsk sector south toward Andreevka, where a pair of Russian regiments have achieved tactical successes. It's obviously not great news for Russia's war effort that one of its main offensives is losing momentum. It's better news for the Russians that their commanders are willing and able to adapt to changing conditions. Adaptation is the key for both sides as the war grinds on and the politics surrounding it shift. The United States, one of Ukraine's staunchest allies under former President Joe Biden, is quickly realigning toward Russia under the chaotic leadership of President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Ukrainians decided to make this already deadly kill zone even worse. They used remote mining techniques with drones and artillery to scatter a large number of landmines across these fields, effectively extending the minefield from around the roads to cover the entire field. Additionally, the clear weather allowed Ukrainians to increase their drone surveillance in the area, enabling them to detect Russian assaults even before they reached the hill. Geolocated combat footage reveals how Russian forces launched mechanized assaults using several BTR armored personnel carriers and tanks. However, the column quickly came under attack by Ukrainian precision strikes, including kamikaze drones, landmines, and artillery fire. Notably, Russian soldiers adorned their tanks and vehicles with Soviet flags, attempting to recreate the mass charges of the past. However, as many of the Russian armored personnel carriers and tanks were rapidly disabled, Russian soldiers resorted to advancing across open fields on foot. These human wave formations, similar to previous North Korean assaults, ended in complete disaster for the Russian infantry. The Russian vehicles that survived the initial ambush pressed forward, but were also quickly disabled and destroyed by Ukrainian precision fire, leaving dozens of wrecked vehicles scattered across the fields near Nikolsky. The besieged North Koreans could do nothing but watch the disaster unfold. Overall, the Russians conducted a disastrous assault on Nikolsky in the hope of relieving the cutoff of North Korean forces. However, their plan backfired because Ukrainians meticulously prepared a kill zone to efficiently deal with the Russian assault. These losses only further drained the already limited Russian reserves, while Ukrainians maintained powerful defensive positions that stand despite the intense pressure.